Hey, everybody. We are in the Thrive Well podcast studio with realtor partner Amber Yaklin. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
How did you get into real estate?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got into real estate very haphazardly. So I had a background in sales, but was not aware that that was my background. I was a stay-at-home mom who was doing anything she could to make an income and stay home. So if you sold anything network marketing under the sun, I was probably signing up to get that big bonus and make $1,000 a month and have a party at your house.
Yes.
And this was just like my track record. That
Just before we move on from there, did you sell Stella and Dot?
Yes.
I did too.
You did?
What about Rodan and listen,
Yes.
Let me be honest. Stella and Dot thing may we digress?
Yes.
Friends, let's talk about how the two of us had some Stella and Dot in the background.
Yes.
This wonderful person came to me. I don't even know where I was, the park, at a restaurant. I stumble across a fabulous woman who's like, Stella and Dot. That's
Okay.
what I have on me. I'm
Yes.
like, I love
It was probably me.
everything. It probably was you. I love everything about it. I'm like, but I'm not the party person. Like,
Yeah.
unlike you, you're so fantastic in big groups. You pull energy. I can do it for a moment and then I need my space.
Okay.
So I'm like, I'm not really the party goer type person. Like, I'm not going to call my friends and invite them over just for the Stella and Dot thing. So how else can we do this?
Yeah.
She was like, well, here's the deal. If you get all your friends together on a random day and I happen to stop by, there might be $1,000 bonus for you in it. And you can also get all the jewelry you would like up to $1,000 for free. And I was like, wait, so there's a lot of $1,000 being thrown around here?
That's the best sales pitch I've ever heard, first of all.
Am I giving you the 1,000 or receiving? Is it just a jewelry exchange? Like, you're giving me the jewelry, I'm giving you my friend.
Do you open the like your trench coat and just dripping with jewels?
She's like, you bring the friends, you get $1,000 worth of jewelry. I'm like, you know what? That actually, now that you reframed it.
Yes.
And that was a good salesperson.
Yes.
And I did it. And it required I sign up. Then I didn't realize in this transaction.
Oh, she
the
really
fine print
the fine print was
I am now a Stella and Dot person.
and you're selling it to your friends. Now you become that person. Like, come over just for like some light charcuterie, and also will you support my new biz, Boss Babe?
Yes.
Yeah. So I did that to my friends,
Okay.
time and time again.
Beautiful.
So I mean, from the time before I had kids on, I was always selling something. But that was super popular then. So I was doing all those parties.
Yes.
I ended up with Stella and Dot. I was like accessories galore. That's actually how I met Kristen.
I mean,
Was through a mutual friend.
believe it. She
Stella
was
and Dot party.
accessorized.
I was not her stylist. Can you believe it? I
can't.
probably would be a millionaire by now. But
It's true.
so I was doing all those things, and I had definitely reached this age. I was pregnant with my second child. So I'm like, I don't know, mid-30s, early 30s. I was like 31. And I had felt like I'd missed something. Like I had missed some sort of life lesson that you should have already been very clear on what your career path is by now. Like somehow like I skipped that class in school, and I had the house and I had the marriage and I was having the kids.
Yeah.
But what am I going to do with the rest of my
Like,
life?
who am I really?
Right. Like I'm haphazardly like hawking jewelry or working at a restaurant serving tables or bartending. Like I'm doing all these odd jobs to make a little bit of income just so I could be home during the day with my kids. And I was like, I've missed like the adult memo here along the way. And I was on the phone with my sister-in-law, and we were talking about this, and I was like kind of having like my little breakthrough moment. And she goes, you have sold everything under the sun. Why don't you sell houses? And I was like,
Bigger product.
Why
bigger payday.
don't I sell houses? I was like, how do you think you do that?
Yeah.
And the next day I was like Googling like how to sell houses. Yeah. Signed up for a course. It's extremely low barrier in Michigan.
Unfortunately.
Which it's unfortunate. Like we make jokes as realtors, but at the time I had no money and no experience. And I was so thankful for that low barrier. I came to my husband with a business plan, as I did every time I signed up to sell something. And this time he was like, I think you'd actually be great at selling houses. We figured it out logistically so I could go to this 40-hour class. It was in person at the time, which feels...
I did the same.
And that was it. The rest was history. I got into real estate.
And you started slinging houses.
I started slinging houses. I actually have...
It's very serious business.
No, this is serious business.
Yes.
Yeah. So I got my real estate license, and right before I scheduled my test, which was pretty immediate after my class, I remember having this moment of I didn't know where to go. Like, you don't know what the next thing is. You're literally just learning as you go. That's all of real estate, I feel like.
Yeah.
So I had told my instructor, like, I don't really know what to do. And she was like, you have to just go interview brokerages. So that's what I did.
Okay.
I started calling and making appointments, and I was having terrible experience after terrible experience. Like I sat in front of one guy who was very dismissive. And the root of all this is feeling dismissed, right? Like I'm already 31 feeling stunted, like I don't have some clear career path.
Right.
And now I'm an adult sitting in front of you, and I just felt dismissed. One guy was like, call me when you're done taking your test. I'm like, well, I'm taking my test tomorrow. So I'm gathering information now.
Yes.
And he was like, well, call me after you take your test. I mean, he must have said like 3 times.
Huh.
Another woman completely ghosted me, never showed up to the office. I stood outside with the door locked.
Oh my God.
For like in the rain, like got a babysitter. Like it feels like we could do like a montage of like, very sad in hindsight. Drama. I went to another woman who was like, yeah, your cap is $20,000 a year and you have to buy your own signs and your own cards and figure it all out on your own. And I was like, that doesn't sound intimidating at all.
Right.
Cry the whole way home. Right?
Right.
And my cousin had come over that night, and I was like, I don't know what to do. This feels like I did this. I don't know where to go or what to do. And I said, I think I'm just going to end up at ABC, you know, like just this person I spoke to. She was the only one who actually spoke to me. So I think that's just where I'm going to go. And she was like, no, you're not. I know who that is. Got on speakerphone with some other agent friend of hers who also was like, no, you're not. She's the worst.
Yeah.
Right. And she pointed me in my first direction of the first team I joined.
Amazing.
She's like, you need to call so-and-so. I did. Him and I met. It was a perfect fit. And he was an amazing mentor. He is the reason I was able to get my foot off the ground.
Amazing. Amazing. And I would say even today, fast forward 100 years later, I'm just kidding, but fast forward, it's still that way today. People still get treated the same way because of that low barrier that anybody can get in here. And then they're taught you need to turn this into a massive business in order to be something special, which is just not true. And then you deal with that. People who don't care about the young budding person coming in saying, just point me in the right direction. I want to do this.
Right.
Show me how, tell me how, let me get my hands on it. So way to go to that cousin of yours. Cousin, we love you. Thank you for doing that for Amber. What would you say that now that you've been in the business for almost a decade?
Yes. Close.
What would you say that your clients are understanding of when they work with Amber? What is a critical aspect to the service you deliver, to the outcomes you deliver? What would your clients say?
I would say what has really stood out over the last 8 years is my efficiency and my direct consultation style. So a lot of the people I've worked with, especially after those first couple of years, were all referral based or people I already knew, right? My sphere.
Beautiful.
And because of that, they obviously knew me in a personal setting. And I think what shocked a lot of people that I heard a lot in the beginning was, wow, professional Amber is very different from personal Amber.
Yes.
And not that I would like say my personality wasn't in it. Like we have a ton of fun shopping for houses. I think it should be fun. I think the last couple years, like the way the media has portrayed it has made it feel very scary or very daunting. And that's not what your home buying experience should be like, or your home selling experience. There should be an element of fun to it. But I think I shocked people in how passionate I was about getting people from A to B in the most direct way possible that helped them the most. And I was willing to fight for them and be direct and consult them, sometimes in ways they weren't always ready to hear, but that was best for them.
Yes. Well, and that's proper consulting. What I love most about what you said is that there is a professional Amber when you work with her versus the personal Amber. And I think a lot of professionals miss that. They think when they're working with their family and their friends and the referrals that are intimate relationships, that you can treat it casually, when really you need to cross over, put on that alter ego of like, no, I'm a professional realtor. Here's what you're going to get when you work with me. And when we're done doing that, let's go grab a drink.
Yeah.
And then it's me and you.
Those boundary lines, I really had to figure out myself quickly because I had fallen into that trap of like, oh, they already know me
Right.
and they already trust me. So this is going to go great. Well, every single person who's going through a real estate transaction, when they have the biggest asset of their lives on the line, guess what? Emotions change real quickly. So what's funny is some of the people I had to be the most quote unquote professional with or the most direct with were people like my mom.
Right.
When she sold her condo. And we had to have like really, I remember going through a listing presentation with my mom, like old school, like flipping the papers, like, and then you can expect this, and here's the marketing, and here's like the photography we'll do, and then here's this timeline. And she interrupted me every step of the way.
Yeah. Like you don't need to do this.
Every page. She's like, Amber, I know. Amber, I'm going to hire you. Amber, I know. Amber, stop. And I ignored her the whole time and just kept going through my presentation. It was so important for me to have that done so that every time she had a complaint somewhere along the way, I could go, if you remember when we sat down at our listing presentation, we discussed that appraisal might be an issue in this market.
Yeah.
Right? Like I just had to be able to flip that professionalism because it made everyone's life easier and kept our relationship personally intact.
Yes, which is so important. And I think that's missed a lot because what is actually happening is the needs change. When you are moving away from personally connecting, I'm Amber, I'm kicking it with you, we're having a drink, we're having fun, to I'm helping you do a really big life-changing thing right now. Their needs change, and so the relationship changes temporarily, but you've got to serve that moment. And I love that you brought that up as something you learn right away, because I think newer agents coming to the scene, listen up. Like, you can do it, but you've got to put on that professional hat.
And don't let anyone falter your step in that. Like, it's funny because even to this day, especially if it's like a husband-wife team, and I'm like showing them a house, like someone I've known a long time, and now we're going to go, there's always one of them that wants to kind of like hang and talk, like, so good to see you. And then there's always the other one that's like very down to business. And the one who wants to like hang out and talk, they comment on it every time. They're like, wow, like you put your realtor hat on and you're just like a whole nother force to be reckoned with.
Yes.
And I'm like, yes.
And that's who they want you to be.
Deep down, they don't know it, but deep down, they don't want friend Amber.
Right.
They don't want like life of the party, Amber in the wild, having so much fun. They don't.
Yes.
That's not going to get them.
They need to rely on you in a different way. I love it. Okay. What advice would you give to first-time home buyers entering into the market today? We've all seen the headlines. We've all paid attention to the news, but what would you say as a veteran agent who's been through a real estate cycle? This is not brand new to you. How would you help advise them through this?
Okay, I'm smiling really big because you don't even know this, but I did a video on this morning that I just edited and haven't put up yet.
Oh my gosh.
Literally on this topic. And I said, and the video, when you see it, you're going to laugh because I say, if you're thinking about buying or in this market as a first-time home buyer, may the odds ever be in your favor. And then it's like the Hunger Games, like, do. I
love it.
Just kidding. Just
love
kidding,
it.
Right? First-time home buyers right now need to take whatever fear that they have and put it aside. Whatever you've seen on the news, whatever you are hearing on social media and TikTok from all the realtors you follow, right? Whatever your parents have told you, you need to take all of that aside and have a proper consultation. Because this is not the craziest market. It's just not. I know we all want to say it is, and we want to have that like media story that we can share, but this is not actually in any stretch of the imagination a crazy market. This is a very normal time to buy or sell a home. And I even made a joke, scary words are being thrown around like interest rates and inventory. And the truth of the matter is that's not why people buy their first homes. Nobody's ever said, the market feels right, I'm ready to buy a home. People buy a home because they're either done renting, they've gotten a new job, they're in a relationship now and they want to get a home together, right?
Yes.
Maybe they're expecting their first child, some sort of like family change. That's why people buy their first homes. And I love working with first-time home buyers. They're excited. They are like fresh. And I think if I could give them one piece of advice, it's when you and I sit down and have that conversation about buying a home, please bring everyone to the table that is going to be in that decision-making process with you right off the bat. So if that's mom and dad, if that's your board of directors, bring them. Let them meet me. Let them ask their questions too, because the worst time for them to suddenly know me and meet me and have questions is the final walk through the day before you sign the paperwork.
Right.
I have a joke. I used to always say, dads kill deals, right? That's not because, and it's a funny joke in the industry, like, oh, a dad's going to come in and be like, not this house, not for my princess, right? That's all tongue in cheek. The truth of the matter is, I love that there are parents out there who can advise their children in one of the biggest transactions of their lives. I didn't have that. My husband didn't have that. So we pride ourselves that we're going to be those kinds of parents. But get everyone involved right out the gate.
I like that. Who's your board of directors? If it's mom, if it's dad, if it's auntie, uncle,
Sisters,
doesn't
brothers,
matter. Bring them. I love that. And I love that you talked about putting your fear aside. I think what we could go into for first-time homebuyers is how, right? Because you don't know what you don't know. And that's what's invoking the fear. You've read the headline. You've listened to maybe mom, dad, peer, colleague who's saying, oh, inventory's low. Oh, rates aren't good. You shouldn't do it. But why? Why shouldn't you do it? And what's the alternative? And when you compare the alternative to the opportunity of buying a home today, what is the risk versus reward? And that's where a professional realtor can come in and actually give you the God's honest truth.
And information is power. So whenever I don't know what I want to do or what I'm doing next or something new comes my way and I get really nervous and upset and scared, I just have to realize and recognize that that's from lack of information and lack of experience. I haven't experienced that thing, so it feels overwhelming. That's how it's going to feel the first time you go buy a house. Now, the information part is easy, right? So like, let's say I tell people all the time, like, call me before you're even thinking about like, I want to go move this year. Like if you're like, oh, I'm curious what the home buying process looks like, but Amber, I'm not going to buy a house for probably 1, 2, 3 years. Doesn't matter. Call me anyways. Let's talk now. The process doesn't really change. Rates change, inventory changes, maybe your income will change, maybe your life circumstances will change, but the process itself won't change. And then once you have the steps of what it looks like to buy a house, right? Like we start here. I have a 10-step process that I show to every buyer. And once they have that knowledge, you can see that breath of like, that sigh of relief.
Yes.
Like, oh, I'm starting to understand what this will look and feel like.
Yes.
And then start having fun and looking online.
Shop.
What? Shop around. Who doesn't like a little midnight scroll
shopping?
Right. Who doesn't have a cart on Amazon that has like $1.3 million worth of items in it? You know? Come on.
I'm looking at my Amazon account right now.
Right? Like, do you take PayPal or not? Right. Like, let's get this transaction closed. I say shop online, have a blast, whether it's me setting you up on that search or you have an app on your phone that you're looking through. Send me stuff you have questions about. I will like inform you on the ins and outs of what you need to know about that house, but that'll let you know what you can afford and what area and what you prefer, right? What are the features and benefits that you want? It's fun to shop online first.
Yes. I love that. And so true. And when you work with a realtor, beyond Zillow, beyond the app that's on the phone, what you can do is start learning about it, the architectural differences, the taxes, things like that. So snapshot it, send it to your realtor, Amber. Let her help educate you throughout the 3 years you're waiting on it.
I always have people who will randomly go, I don't want to bother you, but, right? Like, ... Like, that's like every realtor text says, like, I don't want to bother you, but ... You're not bothering me. This is literally my job. I've had people, like you said, take a screenshot, text it to me. What can you tell me about this house? Let's have a conversation. They may not ever go forward with that home.
Sure.
But what if in 6 months, the perfect house hits the market? Won't you be happy that a year ago, we already talked about all the ins and outs? You know who to call. You understand the process. Now you can confidently go offer on that house and you don't have to have FOMO.
Yes. Oh my gosh, the FOMO.
The FOMO.
It's a serious thing. All right, let's talk about being a decade in the industry.
Okay, but when you say a decade,
Yeah.
like every time, it's
like a full decade.
It feels like I should tell you about the arthritis in my wrist.
You're very young. You started young. Way to go. Okay, but in that time frame, you have to have a story in there of a seller or a buyer that you're just like, this was a core memory in my professional career. And I now use it as either my feel good story that I want to share with others so they have borrowed belief, or my don't do this story.
Yes.
What do we have?
Okay, so my core memory that I always think of in this case is a man named Mike, who was a for sale by owner. And his wife actually was referred to me by a friend, right? So referral, you think that those are like slam dunks. Like someone already knows me, they've referred me. Like now everyone on the phone is going to be so happy. So like realtors, if you're new to the business, just know you are proving yourself each and every time, no matter, I don't care if Grandma Susie's best friend just called you, you are proving yourself, right?
Yes, you're earning it.
So I get a phone call from a woman in Baltimore, and she says, I have a house in Farmington Hills. We're done being lessee renters. We are ready to sell this property. The market's back up, right?
Yep.
And my tenants are moving out. I go, great. I'm from that area. She goes, I know so-and-so. I go, great. Yeah. Oh my gosh, they love to help. She goes, okay, the only thing is, dun, dun, dun.
What is that?
Because the only thing is, I need my ex-husband to get on board. We're divorced. He also lives in Maryland. So none of us are in state.
Okay.
Our tenants are leaving.
And we're divorced.
And we're divorced. And he wants to sell it for sale by owner.
Oh.
So I need you to talk to him.
Oh boy. She's like, so now you're up.
Now you're up to bat. Yeah. Hit it out of the park, girl. Thanks.
Okay.
So she actually comes to Michigan. Her and I meet. She decides she likes everything I have to say. And ultimately it's coming down to, can we convince the ex-husband that he also likes me? And so we get on a 3-way call, which is very common in divorce situations. Communication is so key in our industry, and you never want any party to feel like you're pitting one against the other or that you are taking sides, right? So we're always like, great, here's how we're going to communicate. One big email, one big conference call all the time. He's like, I think I can get this for it. I want to sell it myself. I don't want to pay the fees. It was all about the commission, which is always what it's about.
Yep.
That's the thing. No one wants to say it. Everyone's like afraid.
Yep.
We get it. You don't want to pay us the money. I got it. Great. I know how to duke it out and hustle for my commission, right? I go, great. I said, here's what you're looking to accomplish. I got real clear on what he wanted. And I think I asked a lot of good questions, which really helped. So he goes, I want 30 days to sell it myself. I said, okay. He goes, and if I can't, I'll hire you. I was like, great. Can I tell you what I think is going to happen before 30 days is up? I think you're going to get offers, but I think you're going to struggle to actually sell it because you're going to need to read through some contracts. Other realtors are going to write these contracts. They're going to be negotiating against you. You're going to be paying them a commission to basically negotiate against you. And I know like all the seasoned agents are rolling their eyes right now going like, yeah, Amber, we all know that part, right? That's not where the magic happened. The magic happened when I said, what I would like to offer you is if you'd like me to oversee your contracts and help you get to the closing table, I can just be a transaction coordinator for you. That's an option. Just let me know what happens, right? Call me next week.
Okay.
So he knows exactly what he wants for this house. He's shared that price with me.
Okay.
He has now gone on the market with terrible photos. That's fine. That's besides the point. Everyone wants to go through with their iPhones. I'm like, okay, none of the pictures are down. I'm cringing. He gets a call from a realtor out in California. She wants to buy the house. So she puts together an offer. So he goes, hey, Amber, I want to take you up on that offer. Will you look over this contract? I go, sure. She is essentially asking for concessions, which gets him minus $5,000 what he wants on the house. So I explained that to him. He's like, oh, I'm going to call her. They go back and forth for a few days. And finally, this woman calls me out of the blue. She's like, I don't understand what's happening here. I said, this isn't my listing. This isn't my client. I just helped him read a contract.
Yep.
So she's like, but he said he wants this for the house. He told her the price. Yeah. So that falls through. He gets a second offer from somebody who has a buyer's agent. Same thing. He tells them the price he's looking for. They come in $5,000 under, right? So he's like, what is going on? I said, Mike, here's your options. You can either take one of these offers, you can continue to market on Zillow, or you can let me come in, get some good photos of this house, take down all of this stuff, fix it up for you. I'm like, you're in Maryland. You're not even here. Let me get into this house. He goes, fine. Tenants let me in. I get a photographer. He signs a contract with me. I am literally, Jessica Woodbeck, I am literally taking murals of picture frames, including the biggest cross you've ever seen, off the walls.
Okay.
Putting it in boxes, putting it on the porch so the photographer can go through everything. And then I'm rehanging all of their pictures for them. I am moving big, ugly pieces of furniture that don't need to be in the photos.
Yes.
Like, I mean, I was sweating.
You were working for this.
Sweating.
Like, Mike, I'm going to show you.
Because, and it wasn't just for him. It was the pride I take in my work, right? Like, if I have a listing hit the market, I want it to sell for the most amount of money possible for my sellers. And I want them to be like, oh, Amber Yaklin's listings always look beautiful. Oh, her photographer is the best, right? Like, that's a reputation we have to build day in and day out. And we only get that opportunity every time we land a client to shine for the next client, right? So long story short, we end up getting multiple offers on this house. He sells it for $26,000 over asking, which is, by the way, much more than my commission was going to be. He is through the roof ecstatic. The ex-wife is like, thank God I'm not fielding any more phone calls at work, because she was ready to kill him. She's like, I'm not taking one more Zillow phone call at all. They're happy now. They all sign. We get everybody to the finish line. He literally drives from Maryland to Michigan and says, I'm in front of the house. Can you meet me? I did go get my sign anyways. I go, sure. He goes, I had to come hug you in person after all you did for me. That's the core memory.
Amazing.
That's what gives me the chills. Like, this man just needed someone to help him accomplish what he wanted. And that was probably the first time in my career that I had this aha moment of like, I actually help people.
Yes, you make a difference.
I make a difference. I'll never forget those people.
That's incredible. Incredible. And I think the piece that I hope agents listening, or even sellers listening, is that a professional realtor is willing to come up with solutions that meet your needs. His original need was, I need to know, can I do this on my own? And you said, you know what, after a ton of conversation, let's see what you got, Mike. Here's how I can help you do that. And then if you change your mind, I'm right here for you, because you're a professional. You're not a desperate agent who's going to kick and scream their way out of there. F you. You're going to FISBO. You don't know what you're doing. I'm going to sabotage it.
I think that's the biggest mistake agents make, is when they get on their soapboxes and tell other people that the way they're doing anything in their lives is wrong. It's not wrong if you want to sell your own home. That's totally fine. And maybe you are more than capable of doing so. There's a lot of things I can DIY just well enough to be very happy with the time and money I've saved.
Good for you.
Not like great things.
I mean, like, proud of you.
Not a lot of things.
Not me.
Now, I'm the kind of personality, I prefer to just pay the professional, but because my husband does not prefer to pay the professional,
You're like, I'll get in there.
I have figured out a few things, right? But when the time comes, that's what I want people to think about when they think about real estate with me, is I've got their back. I'm going to figure it out for you, with you. I'm a solution girl. I'm an idea girl. I'm just somebody who I can see the whole overarching issue, and I can come up with something that's going to work for everyone.
I love it. I love it. When you look at your favorite part about being a realtor, your favorite part about serving other people, because that's what you're saying. You're like, in this light bulb moment, I realized, oh my gosh, I really am helping people. I'm not just selling houses. I'm helping people do what they want to do when they need to do it. What would you say if you had to just choose one thing that's your favorite thing about being a realtor? What would that be?
The first thing that just came to mind is the confidence that it gave me in my life. It really was a confidence booster to be really good at something. It was like the first time I wasn't just haphazardly moving through a job and trying to prove myself and being dismissed by a boss or a leader. It was like this is all me. Either I'm going to make it work or I'm not. And then every single time I came up against a challenge in real estate, big or small, like inspection issues, the hard conversations you have to have with other agents, people yelling at me or crying or losing their dream house because of multiple offers, whatever that challenge was, every single time, it always started with me being very in despair, insecure, a little emotional. And then I would find the solution, call everybody, execute it. And I was like, if it was a visual, I'd be glowing by the end of it, right? So it taught me a lot about myself and how to see what I'm capable of. That's what real estate really brought to my life. That's why I'm like indebted to this career, even on the seasons where I'm like, I'm done, I'm tired. How much easier would it be to clock in and just clock out somewhere else?
Yeah.
I'm indebted to the growth I've had personally in being a realtor.
I love that. What would you say to somebody who's going through right now? We all know this market is hard for a lot of realtors, especially realtors that entered into the market during a different season, right? We call it the pandemic season. It was an up market. It was easier than it is right now for those realtors. I would even reckon that seasoned agents had a little bit of a, all right, let's get back on the saddle.
Hi, that was me. I was like, look at me, pandemic Amber's the best. And then everyone was like, that was the easiest years of your career. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yes, it was. Yes. And we didn't know it at the time.
No.
So, I mean, like, no judgment.
We thought we were the bee's knees, girl.
The most money I've ever made. Well, yeah, so did everybody else. Yeah. So did Grandma Realtor. So good job.
Good job.
However, in these moments, right, you just said, I'm here because I know what real estate does for me personally on a almost spiritual level, right? It brought a confidence level to me. It taught me that I can solution seek, I can remain curious and problem solve. When you're in the moments of, this work is hard. Sometimes dealing with a buyer or seller that are not on the same page is really hard. Co-ops that are not skilled, really hard, or just mean. People can be mean.
Yeah.
The work can get hard. In those moments, for any agent listening to us right now, how do you bring yourself back to, no, remember, Amber, this is the industry for you because you can find your way?
One thing I always tell people is if you're not thinking about quitting real estate today, then you're not actively currently in real estate.
I've heard you say that.
Yes. It's my little tongue-in-cheek way of being like, hard things are hard. And I think when there's no proper, let's say, boss role that's making you show up for the grind, it can get very taxing and very weary. And forget about if even a life event happens too. You got a down market and a bad life event, and suddenly you are just completely derailed. Not that I'm speaking from personal
like not me
experience or anything. Like about a friend.
Of course, yes.
I would say, cliche enough, what is your why? The real problem is when you first start in real estate and when you start to grow into your real estate career, your why is going to change.
Of course.
And so for me, it is the constant reminder that I don't want to be under someone else's thumb. I don't want to work for somebody else, really. When I am in my passive mindset of this is hard, I should just go work for someone else, I allow myself to daydream there for a little bit about what that would be like. And then I think about it in a reality based, right? Okay, Amber, what would that look like for you? How many days a week are you going to work? What hours are you going to work? What is your boss going to require? Right? Let's say I need to go get a job right now to go clock in. Sure. Am I working Black Friday? Am I working Christmas hours?
Maybe.
Am I working late at night? Am I in the evenings? Am I going to volleyball games? Am I doing school pickups? Am I doing school drop-offs? Am I spending that quality time with my family on a Saturday and Sunday, which is the only 2 days my husband has off? Am I able to go attend church, which is really important to me, right? So I just start to really say like, okay, what would that really look like? What would I want to go do? Do I want to sit at a desk from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.? Do I want to drive in traffic? Do I want a remote job where I have to answer? I mean, I listen to my husband do conference calls in our house on speakerphone all day long, which is that I escape and come here to the office. And it sounds terrible, Jessica. It sounds so boring and mundane. And I just have always felt like that's my spirit. I don't want to work for someone else. I could put in the focused effort, work for myself, make great money. But the real truth of the matter is I want to be home. I want to be the mom who's home with her kids. It's what I fought for from the second I became a mom. It's everything decision I've made, every career decision has been around, can I do pickup, drop-offs, school conferences, plays? I want to be the one that's there.
So for you, you revisit how you can make this career work for your number one priority.
Yeah, you have to. The end.
That's it. I would, just for clarity's sake, not all realtors can be that flexible. And I do believe there is, and the reason I'm going to bring this up right now, because I love that for you. I love that you're clear, crystal clear. I felt it in you describing it. This is a crystal clear priority to you, and this career serves that priority, which is beautiful. I can relate on that. When it comes to real estate, though, I think there is a fallacy in believing that there is this insane flexibility that you don't work for anybody. When the God's honest truth, as realtors, we work for a lot of people.
That's true. That is true.
And our time is not always our God-given time to just say yes or no to. Sometimes we have to say yes when we don't want to.
Yes.
Because the job requires it.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
I think the beauty of that, and maybe I painted a picture that seems like I'm a little more laissez-faire than I am.
Well, and I think that's earned.
Yes, that and that comes with like a lot of experience. I will say the first few years of real estate was a lot of learning to juggle a schedule. Mm-hmm. It was taking calls at dinner time. It was going out on weekends and evening showings, and that still is going to happen.
Yep.
The beauty of what I'm trying to say in real estate of why I remember like, oh, this is what I want to do is I get to choose my hard and choose my hard hours, right?
Sure.
So if I'm really, really heavy, busy, let's say with a lot of buyers, which is going to take up time, right? So I'm driving to wherever their destination is. We're seeing multiple houses a week. Yeah. I might have to be on the fly. Somebody else might have to do pickup. That is in that situation. And I'm also providing for my family, so I'm fine to do that.
Yep.
The difference is I don't have to clock in and clock out for somebody else every single solitary day to do that.
Yep.
It's different all of the time.
Yeah.
So the flexibility comes not in I get to pick whatever I want. Mm-hmm. The flexibility comes in that I might be really, really busy for 3 weeks straight, and then I might get 2 weeks where I've got nothing I need to do.
Sure.
Or the flexibility comes in where we can plan a family vacation and I don't have to get approved time off to do that. Sure. I can lean on my team and the leverage like we have here, right?
Right.
Showing partners, my transactions team, all these people that my clients are really comfortable with. So it does not affect what they're trying to accomplish. In fact, it makes me better at getting them to the finish line.
Yep.
Does that make more sense?
Totally get that. Yes. Yep. I think when it comes to the choice management of real estate, it's a sensitive subject because I think right now we're finding a lot of people that came in during the pandemic years unfortunately don't really understand the reality of a real estate career. And you can choose those things, but you're also choosing to say, I'm not procuring new business at that time and I'm okay with it. And I think newer agents don't quite understand that yet, right?
Right. And what happens when we do take time off and then we see this empty pipeline?
Exactly.
I'm like a brand new agent right now.
Exactly.
I'm starting the end of my year almost from scratch, having like closed out my business, going into November. Now you go, nobody's really buying or selling at this current moment.
Yep.
What's next? And this is where I have to then take that flexibility that I've earned and go, okay, what choice, right? Choice management, like you just said, what am I going to make? Am I going to go out there and start hunting for new business so that Q1 can look a lot different?
Yes.
Or am I going to continue to kind of like sit on my heels and do a little bit of nothing? I get the choice.
Exactly.
It's the blessing and the curse of the business.
Right.
No one's making me do anything, but also like no one's making me do anything.
Right. Exactly. And it works for some, it does not work for all. There is no denying that.
Well, and that's when it comes in. Okay, so like real estate wise, like if you're new to the industry or newer to the industry, if you're not finding yourself in a place where you can be led well, like, right, like working for a boss and being managed and clocking out is a lot different from having a mentor or a structure that you can follow, right? So I can go be at any brokerage on the planet. Some people are really going to care what my business looks like, and they're going to check in and they're going to see how I'm doing, and they're going to put things in place that help me to grow. And then other people are going to be like, great, hang your license here and do whatever you want whenever you want. And your personality, you've got to know where the right fit is for you.
For sure.
Some people are super self-motivated. They can go to that brokerage where nothing's going on and they can totally succeed there.
Sure.
But if you are currently sitting somewhere, because this is where I think agents get stunted. If you're currently sitting somewhere where you're not happy where your life's at or where your business is at, you've got to take a look at your entire arena that you're playing in.
Yeah.
Because I've had a couple different brokerages I've been at, and I know that I would have probably already fizzled out if I had stayed at some of them. Because that iron sharpens iron kind of thing, like that is what we see here. It keeps me in line of, am I going to choose to stay home today? Or am I going to choose to show up?
Right.
Right? That natural competitive nature in me is finally like, oh, well, no one's going to outdo me.
Yes. It's you versus you in real estate. I mean, that is the God's honest truth. And you either like to have a pathway that's carved out and it's simple for you to plug into and you get to do as much or as little, or you want to forge away and love to lay the bricks, and then you got to manage the bricks, and then you got to put sand in the bricks, and then you're like, all this grass is popping up. Now what? And that's the discount broker. That's the broker that doesn't have a lot of services or help for you. You become all of the things rather than full service brokerages, teams, things of that nature. Give you a little more support to say, hey, it's you versus you, babe. What do you want?
Well, and in the same way we talked about first-time home buyers needing the knowledge to put the fear aside, I think agents need to put their fear aside too. It doesn't ever hurt to go talk to other people and see what they have at different places. I've had agents recently reach out to me and go, okay, tell me about your time at Thrive. It's been like kind of that enough time here that people are now curious. Like, okay, she stayed.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Right? And I always tell them, I'm very discreet about it. If you want to come pop into the office and see what it's like, let me know. I don't need to tell anybody you're coming. I don't need to blast it. We don't need to take a selfie and put it on Facebook, right? I don't need to give anybody your name. But it's worth checking in that gut feeling, you guys. Like, you're not going to be thought of less than in your industry if you make a change.
That serves you and your family,
we get
your business.
So bogged down of like, oh, what's it going to look like if I make a move? No.
Yeah, right. No one's, let's be honest.
No one cares, first of all.
Cares.
No one cares.
No one cares.
But your family will care. You will care,
Yes.
right? I don't care if your family is just like you and your dog Fluffy at home.
Yes.
That environment will change when you're in the right environment. And so it's just worth looking into.
I love that. Now that you've been here for a minute at Thrive, we want to know your opinion around, well, I guess thriving well. This is the Thrive Well podcast.
Okay.
So what does thriving well mean to you?
I was recently having a conversation with a real estate friend of mine. And the way what I told her rolled off my tongue, I was like, I'm really in Thrive now. I could just tell, like, the way, like, this sentence has
This is your
seeped out of my
arrival.
mouth. I was like, I'm fully immersed. Thrive Well is truly those pillar posts of your life all aligning and feeling well. So essentially what I told her was, here's what I feel like the environment is here. It is, are you personally well? Are you spiritually well? And are you professionally well? Because all of those things are all intertwined and matter. And I think for so long we try to separate all of it, like, oh, work's at work and home's at home. And that's not the society we live in anymore, especially post-pandemic. Most people have brought their businesses into their homes, whether they are entrepreneurs or corporate.
Right.
And so how do you feel? Do you feel well? And that is only a personal thing you can measure, right? So what does it mean to be spiritually well to you? What does it mean to be professionally well to you? What does it mean to be personally well? Like, what is my relationship like with my husband, with my kids, with my clients, and with myself? And that was the Thrive Well piece that I think really clicked for me being here, was how is my relationship with myself? Because everything else is a fountain from that.
100%.
And for so long, I didn't run that way. I ran like, if
don't.
everyone else in front of me
Yeah.
is doing well and likes me, then I've succeeded.
Right. Yeah.
But that's just,
The
that's
opposite.
burnout. That's totally the opposite.
Yeah. I'll never forget when a mentor of mine challenged me with the idea that I should put myself before my marriage and that my marriage should go before my children and everything else after that. And I thought, wow, I don't know if I can keep paying this guy. Like, this is crazy.
It's like a refund.
What? And we spent a lot of time on this. I would say almost 2 years on that exact subject. And it had a lot of other variables to it within yourself, within your business, within your marriage, your integrity line of how do you hold the line? What do you do when you falter, right? Because we're human and we make mistakes. How do you respond to that? What is the remedy to life for you? And thriving well, like you just talked about, of being these pillar points within your life, whatever those are to you, it's very relative. But the thing we focus on here, first and foremost, is it's got to start with you. The you versus you in real estate couldn't be more true. And if you're not well, if you're not holding the line for yourself, if you're not serving you and then your family and then your business, guess what your clients are going to get in the end? A low integrity, crap experience.
And then when you have a low integrity crap experience, that also then penetrates you. And then you end up going home. And guess what you're giving over to your family? What's left over?
It's a vicious cycle. I know.
And then you don't feel well about yourself. And it is that cycle. And
I agree.
I totally get it. I think taking care of self feels like you're being selfish, but it's not the case. Like, I have seen time and time again that when I care for myself, I can start to build the best parts of my business professionally and the best parts of my family personally.
Yes. And I think let's talk about being selfish for a minute, because everybody is selfish in some way, shape, or form. And I think where the negative definition of selfish has come from is that the low integrity, self-serving person that will step on other people to get to where they want to go. They'll be conniving, manipulative, mysterious, or full of lies, full of shit, right?
For sure.
And then they'll be like, why are you mad? Why do you not want to be my friend? Why are you not taking my calls? Well,
self-absorbed.
me.
Yeah, self-absorbed and selfish is a lot different from taking care of self first, right? So we are naturally inclined as human beings to care for ourselves. That's how our brains are wired, to stay safe.
Yeah, there you go.
But if we're also caring for ourselves well, what we need to do is the same way. If I'm not understanding where my husband's coming from, I can either get defensive, right? Or I can ask questions. Well, what if I don't know where myself is coming from? Am I going to get judgmental and defensive of the thoughts I'm having, of the feelings I'm having, and shame myself and make myself feel even worse? Or am I going to get curious and go, where is this rooted? Where is this coming from? What do you need to be well? And change the narrative.
Yes.
Because once I change the narrative, guess what? My outlook on how everyone else perceives me changes.
Yes. Curiosity is one of the best skills to learn in life, with self, with others, before making the judgments, before making the calls. Ask enough questions where you're like, no, emphatically, because of these things. And Philip Jones says it in his book, exactly what to say. Because of the fact that you said, if you can't say it, you don't get to make the recommendation. The end. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Amber, you've been such a great fresh breath here, sharing introspective thoughts and really valid career things for new agents and even veteran agents, buyers and sellers. If someone wanted to contact you directly, how can they get at you?
Oh, yeah. Coolest way is through Instagram.
So cool.
That's the way you get to know me the best, at Red Lip Amber. Or you can call me or text me at 586-344-5345. Shoot me a screenshot of that house you've been dreaming of, and I'm happy to answer any and all questions.
I love it. Awesome.